Imagine a world where owning a car was as distant as traveling to the moon, until a simple machine, nicknamed the Ford T, put millions of people behind a wheel and redefined global mobility. But what made this model, born in 1908, transform the lives of ordinary workers and revolutionize the industry forever? The answer lies not only in its engine but in the visionary mind of Henry Ford and an idea that changed the course of history, to mass-produce cars that were accessible to everyone. Ford T, the car that put the world in motion. Few vehicles have marked history like the Ford T. It was not just a car. It was a revolution on wheels that changed how people lived, worked, and traveled. Produced by the Ford Motor Company and launched in 1908 under Henry Ford's visionary leadership, the Ford T played an essential role in democratizing transportation, becoming the first car affordable for the masses. More than a machine, it symbolized the beginning of a new industrial and social era, where mobility ceased to be a privilege of the rich and became a reality for millions of workers. Over its nearly 20 years of production, the Ford T shaped the 20th century and solidified the modern automotive industry. This is the story of the car that put the world in motion. The innovation behind the Ford T. Before the Ford T, automobiles were luxury items restricted to the elite. Each car was handcrafted, requiring considerable time and resources. Henry Ford had a different idea: to create a simple, sturdy, and cheap car capable of meeting the needs of the average American. His mission was not just to sell cars but to transform the way people lived. Ford's big breakthrough was realizing that to make the car accessible to everyone, more than an efficient design was needed, it required a new way of producing. Thus, he and his team developed the mass assembly line, a revolutionary concept that allowed vehicles to be produced quickly and on a large scale. Each worker specialized in a specific task, assembling a part of the car as it passed by on a conveyor belt. The result? The production of a complete car dropped from 12 hours to just 90 minutes. The efficiency generated by this methodology significantly reduced the vehicle's final cost, and the selling price of the Ford T gradually decreased over the years. At launch in 1908, the car cost $850, already relatively cheap for the time. But by 1925, the price had plummeted to an incredible $260, making it a feasible dream even for factory workers. This drop in price was a game changer. The middle and working classes gained access to a means of transportation that was previously unimaginable. Engine and performance, simplicity and efficiency. The Ford T was designed to be practical, able to withstand the adverse conditions of early 20th century roads, many of which were little more than dirt trails. Equipped with a 4-cylinder, 2.9-liter engine, it generated a modest 20 horsepower, enough to reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour. Although this may seem low today, it was an impressive speed at the time, especially considering the poor road conditions. Another striking feature of the Ford T was its versatility in terms of fuel. The car could run on gasoline, ethanol, or kerosene, making it especially useful for rural areas where access to conventional fuels was limited. Moreover, its fuel efficiency was reasonably good, averaging 7 to 9 kilometers per liter, making it an economical choice for long trips. Simple and functional design. The Ford T was not a luxurious car, but that was precisely its intention. Its robust design, with a high chassis and wooden wheels, was built to endure the rough terrains and muddy roads common in rural areas. There was no luxury in its finish, but there was plenty of efficiency. Ford famously said, "You can have any color you want, as long as it's black." A practical decision that reduced costs and sped up production since black paint dried faster than other colors available at the time. Over the years, small variations and updates were introduced, but the essence of the design remained the same: durability, simplicity, and functionality. Every detail of the car, from the headlights to the steering wheel, reflected Henry Ford's commitment to efficient and accessible production. Social impact, mobility for all. The true legacy of the Ford T lies not only in industrial innovation but in the social transformation it generated. Before the Model T, most people lived close to their workplaces or relied on horses and carriages for transportation. With the arrival of the affordable automobile, new possibilities emerged. People could live farther away from urban centers, giving rise to the first suburbs and forever changing the dynamics of cities. The Ford T also boosted economic growth. By facilitating the transportation of people and goods, it paved the way for the expansion of businesses and services in previously isolated areas. Gas stations, repair shops, and paved roads began to emerge in response to the growing demand for automobiles. For the first time, an average person could explore the country with freedom and autonomy, something that had previously been restricted to the wealthy. This impact was felt not only in the United States but in various countries around the world. The Ford T was exported to multiple markets, adapting to the needs of different regions and establishing itself as a symbol of modernity and progress. The birth of Fordism, a new industrial era. The assembly line of the Ford T not only revolutionized the automotive industry but also influenced various sectors by introducing the concept of mass production, known as Fordism. This methodology was adopted by other industries, from appliance manufacturing to clothing and food, establishing a new standard for industrial efficiency. Fordism was not limited to factories. It shaped the entire modern economy by promoting the idea that accessible, mass-produced products were fundamental to the development of a consumer society. Additionally, Henry Ford introduced an innovative policy for his factory workers, a $5 daily wage, significantly above the average of the time. By paying his employees well, Ford not only increased productivity but also ensured they could afford to buy the cars they produced, feeding the cycle of consumption and driving economic growth. The decline and lasting legacy. After nearly 20 years of production, the Ford T began to lose ground to more modern and sophisticated models. Competition increased, and consumers began to demand more comfort and variety. In 1927, the production of the Model T came to an end, with over 15 million units sold worldwide. Its successor, the Ford Model A, brought aesthetic and technological innovations, but the impact of the T remained alive. Although it ceased production, the Ford T was never forgotten. It became a cultural icon and a historical reference, symbolizing the pioneering spirit of an era when anything seemed possible. Its principles, simplicity, efficiency, and accessibility, continue to guide the industry today. Conclusion: a car that changed the world. The Ford T was not just a vehicle. It was a revolution on wheels, transforming how people lived and shaping modern society. It democratized transportation, created new economic opportunities, and established a new standard for industrial production. By making the automobile accessible to all, Henry Ford not only built a car but designed the future, influencing how the world moves to this day. Even a century after its creation, the legacy of the Ford T remains present, not only in the history of the automotive industry, but also in popular culture and collective memory. It was and will always be the car that put the world in motion, a simple machine with an extraordinary impact. If you enjoyed this, please share, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell so you won't miss any updates. Thank you very much for watching.